Oh man, that watch is so freaking ugly. How much is it? And then slide the debit card over. Like, I'll take two.
I know. You go
Look
in
away.
with like a hoodie on so nobody sees you.
Yeah.
And you're like, it's like a alley drug deal or something.
Yeah. Like,
you're
I would never
exchanging-
do that. I would never get that. Oh, what time is it releasing? Oh, that's nasty. I'll see you later.
Welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about this new release that Patek has come out with, and it's going to be a really interesting show. We're going to dive into what our thoughts are, right? Mm-hmm. And then really dive into why did Patek release this watch?
Yeah.
And there may be some interesting theories around really what this release means to the brand and what the reasons are. Before we jump into that, we'll do our watch check. So I'm wearing my trusty Speedmaster, Omega Speedmaster today. I love this thing. It is just a strap monster. Probably one of my favorite things about this watch is I can throw it on just about any strap and it looks amazing.
Yeah, that red NATO strap you have it on looks awesome.
Yeah, I've got it on this ribbed NATO, and I can't remember the brand of this strap. Something like Watch Candy, something like that, but I've had it for years now. I just can't remember. What about you?
Today we're wearing a more unique brand here. It's an independent brand called Imperial. It is not a Rolex, although it does have Rolex-esque features.
Sure.
Has that ghost bezel, which is like the Pepsi, but faded over time to give that vintage look. It's a very retro watch, and the finish on this is actually really well done for the price point. And it's a beautiful watch. We're not repping them or sponsor anything for this episode or anything like that. It's just a cool brand that we enjoy around here.
I like it. I think that it's got a really cool vibe for the money.
Yeah.
I know the price point on that is very accessible to a lot of collectors. And it's just cool. It's got a GMT function on it.
Yeah.
It has micro adjustment in the clasp. There's a lot of value in this watch for the price point. I know that we're going to be doing a full review on that. So if you guys are interested in this Imperial watch, make sure to stay tuned and check that out.
Check it out. I guess we'll move into the cubicle, the oracle, the
Oculus.
The Oculus.
I think I accidentally called it the Oculus. It's the Cubitus.
Cubitus.
Right? I want to start out by kind of updating the viewers. We just got back from New York City.
Yeah.
And when we were in New York City is when this officially dropped. And people were losing their minds.
Yeah, I feel like everyone was talking about it when it happened.
On the day it was released, you couldn't get away from the conversation around this watch. Everybody. And it was wild. Everybody seemed to be dogging it right out of the gate. I don't know if I talked to one person that said, yeah, I see that.
Yeah.
Or, it's okay.
Oh, I could get this.
I didn't even get an it's okay.
No, I think everyone said it's the ugliest thing that's came out from Patek.
People were losing their minds. But really, let's get into maybe what our thoughts are. We'll talk a little bit about what we know about the watch. Yeah. And then we'll get into why the hell did they release this.
Yeah. Maybe before we get into that, we might need some drinks because there's a lot to dive into.
Okay, are you really?
Yeah.
You are that thirsty.
Definitely not that thirsty about this watch, so we're having to supplement a little bit.
Yeah, so we're doing a Michter's limited release barrel strength rye.
Well, let's just jump right into the actual watch, right? Let's look at the design, what we feel about it, what it actually is, what it stands for. Why the hell did Patek release it? We'll get into more of the in-depth stuff later, but meats and potatoes, what is the actual watch? Sorry, I missed you on that.
This is going to be too strong for Felix. Now, on the back,
Good.
On the back end, do you get that sweetness?
Somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in there.
It's delicious. It's one of my favorites.
So let's jump into the watch. Bold move from Patek to release something like this.
Do you think it's bold?
It's not bold in the way of, hey, this is the craziest watch, like an AP bold almost, like, oh, we would never do something like this, and they do it.
Okay.
And it's more of like bold because no one expected Patek to release a new line of watches and it be this boring and not innovative.
So bold in a opposite day way.
Yeah, exactly. Not
ironic way.
It's like bold when your best friend goes and dyes his hair like bleach blonde, and then he's like,
you say why?
Yeah, and he's like, I'm just experiencing something new, you know, and then he buzz cuts it like a week later because he regrets it. That's the bold that we're talking about.
Okay.
So the actual watch, it comes in at 45 millimeters, which is pretty large. 3 different types of watch releases, right? Platinum with the moon phase, the two-tone gold, and then just the stainless steel, the original. And very Nautilus-esque. Actually, it's just a square Nautilus is what it is. We believe it's using possibly even the same movement. There's some talk around that.
Right, there's some talk. People aren't quite sure, but I think most people believe it's the same movement, maybe with some very, very, very slight variation.
Yeah.
It's a little unknown right now.
It's definitely a big polarizing watch, but the thing is the watch itself isn't like, it's not a crazy ugly watch. It's just boring.
Well, when you're talking about design, my opinion is it's not an ugly watch. I think people jump the gun, and because we didn't expect this release from them, and because maybe it's not as innovative as we thought a new line would be, people just were like, this is gross, this is ugly. Federico from Federico Talks Watches, he said that it was a gross neo-vintage watch. And I don't agree with that at all. I don't think this watch is gross by any means. Am I a buyer for this watch? I don't know. I think that I need to see it in the metal.
Yeah.
So you just talked about its size, 45 millimeters. But here's the thing. It is 44 millimeters, I believe, lug to lug.
Mm-hmm.
So, 44 millimeters lug to lug is going to be pretty slim on the wrist.
Yeah.
It's just going to wear wide.
Yeah, it has a thinner profile almost in a way, but yeah, it just wears, it's a cube.
But I do want to caution that because of that 44 millimeter lug to lug, I don't think it's going to wear as big as people are assuming.
Yeah.
That's just my gut. My gut is that everybody's seeing that 45 number and they're going, oh my God, it's square. It's going to be huge. And it is a bigger watch. It's a bigger watch for Patek, for sure. I can't imagine that this thing isn't going to be proportioned for that case size.
Yeah.
It's going to be larger, no doubt. And it's something that we're not used to seeing out of Patek. But I don't think it's going to wear as large as people are assuming.
Yeah.
That's just my gut.
Yeah, I agree. And so what do you think about the 3 different variations of it so far? Is there one you gravitate to?
Yeah, the two-tone.
Mm-hmm.
I think the two-tone, for me, looks really dope. I love the blue that they used for that dial. And against that rose gold, if I were a buyer on one, it would definitely be the two-tone because it feels vintage enough to me. And that rose gold against that blue dial just looks beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I just love that dial.
Yeah, I do like the just the regular stainless steel version of this more than any of the other ones that I think I saw. And that green dial, actually, surprisingly, is the one that I kind of enjoy. Everyone loves that blue dial. It's the look for the Nautilus and also for Patek. They do a really good job with it. But for the cube version, the green dial I think looks really good comparatively.
Yes.
Since you have the 5711.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the design of the Cubitus compared to your Nautilus?
I don't think that this design is very innovative, and it's so obvious. I mean, anybody, that even if you don't know watches and you looked at them side by side, would say, well, that watch was just a different version of this other watch.
It's that watch. It's just a little different looking.
So comparatively speaking, they're very similar.
Yeah.
Which one looks better? The Nautilus, of course, looks better. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't have, its own legs to stand on.
Yeah.
It is definitely a different case shape. Even though it is similar, I think what it shares pretty much the same dial, the same hands. It shares the movement. It shares the bracelet, but it's a completely different shape.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, other brands do this very thing all the time.
Similar, yeah.
And they're not getting a bunch of shit for it.
Mm-hmm.
I guess because we hold Patek to such a high standard,
Yeah.
I think people expected more from them.
Yeah.
And what was exposed here, I think, is that when you have these really old brands, you've got Patek, you have Vacheron, you have these guys that are very conservative, you're not going to see a lot of innovation in design out of them.
Yeah.
And that's what's been exposed here, is the lack of innovation in design, right? Not innovation in finished work, not innovation in movement, but just design.
Yeah, and I think it's a lot to do too with timing, right? The timing of the release of this watch, like 25 years without really releasing anything new. But I think it's just the move around and all of this too. It just doesn't make sense for them to do this now. Maybe if they were like, hey, we discontinued the Nautilus release in 2021, but we have this 2022 cubic version.
Yeah.
It'd make more sense, but I don't know. There's a lot there. So
I think we'll get into that. I have maybe a slightly different opinion around this. And I think that this is a game of chess for Patek.
Yeah.
And I believe this was very calculated.
Yeah.
Very, very calculated. And there is a reason for this design and what they're trying to do with their brand image and what they're trying to do with people that will purchase Patek.
So let's look at the price point then. This released for about $42,000 starting.
41 and some change. Yeah.
41 and some change. And comparative to their other line, their Calatrava, which is kind of sort of the entry level Patek that most people get their hands on.
Yeah.
Comes in precious metal. What do you feel like was a little bit of that play? Like, hey, here's essentially the step cousin to the Nautilus, the ugly brother.
Well, there's a lot to unpack there. Listen, yes, you can get a Calatrava in rose gold or precious metal. You can get a Calatrava in precious metal, and it's about $42,000.
Yeah.
I mean, it literally is about the same price.
Yeah.
But that's not what they're trying to do. This is a sports watch, and Patek has high demand for their sports models. To hate on them or to be disappointed that this watch is $41,000 is, if you know the brand, then this is what you would expect. It's what I expect.
Yeah.
Is it truly an entry-level piece? It's not truly an entry-level piece for a majority of collectors, but it's an entry-level piece into the world of Patek. There's a difference.
Yeah.
And people can be mad about it all they want, but Patek demands a certain price point because they are Patek, period.
A lot of conversation out there on the similarities of this watch. For me, the three watches that I think it reminds me of are three different types of watches. And actually, I'd love to see if you would pick one of these alternative watches that I have for you.
Yeah.
First one is the 6005 ST, which is stainless steel. Royal Oak, which is the AP Jumbo. It's vintage 80s watch, quartz movement, I believe. And it's essentially the Royal Oak, it's square. Very similar to this idea that's happening. It does look good. I will give it that. It looks a little bit more presentable in a way than this Cubitus does.
Okay, so you're saying AP at one time released a Royal Oak
Square.
that's square on the same bracelet.
Correct.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, so take that
I've
into
actually
account.
handled this watch.
Yeah.
When we were in New
New
York,
York.
we went to Material Goods and I saw this watch.
And it's a good looking piece.
Yeah.
So there's that watch. My favorite Cartier watch, the Cartier Santos.
Okay.
Another beautiful watch. I think a lot of people have likened this watch to that watch.
Okay.
Everything everywhere. And then for me, a more entry level watch that most people can get their hands into, which is like a Frankenstein of watches, but I've seen a lot of people compare it to, is a Main Manhattan.
Okay.
Just because of the overall look and vibe of the watch.
I think that people try to simplify things too much sometimes.
Sure.
All three of those watches that you mentioned to me don't look anything like this. This Patek release, except that they're square watches.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
So yes, they're square watches, but they don't look the same. I mean, the Santos is square, but it looks completely different.
It is a completely different watch.
Completely different.
Completely different bracelet look, design.
So you're asking, of those three, would I choose one of those three?
Versus the Cubitus.
The Cubitus.
As an alternative. If you were on the hunt, if you had the 40K, be like ready to go, and you could get your hands on
obviously,
any of these.
I could buy multiple watches if I chose. Well, I don't know. I don't know what that vintage Royal Oak goes for.
Yeah, I don't know either off the top of my head. I'm assuming it's less.
Let's not talk money.
Yeah.
I would choose the Patek. I would
Cubitus.
I would choose the Cubitus.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We'll start writing out your comments now. We'll get to you in a couple hours, but
I know.
Ready
Listen,
for the hate.
It might be a hot take. I don't hate this watch.
Yeah, no, it's not a bad looking watch.
I mean, I think that it was a shock to the system, and it was a shock to my system when I first saw it. But as I've digested it, and you look at what the watch is, I think that it's a fine watch. I'm going to assume that it would wear on my wrist just fine. And with that assumption, I would choose the Cubitus all day.
That's fair. I'm not going to say I agree with you because I'd rather that Santos all day. Not even just talking price. I like the design of the Santos. But everyone's at their different, brackets of taste and style. I do agree, though. It is not a bad-looking watch. It doesn't deserve the hate. And I think the reason it's getting it is because it's Patek doing it. Let's talk about how Thierry Stern responded to the backlash.
Yeah, this is interesting.
Yeah. So his statement was, the haters are mostly people who have never had a Patek and never will. So that doesn't bother me. But standing on business.
Talk about no shit's given.
Bro is balling on the back of this Cubitus. He is standing on the throne of the square right now.
So I think that he's made it very known that he's not a fan of the Nautilus.
Yeah,
he's just not a fan of it. And his fear has always been that Patek will be a one-watch company, like what's happened with AP. Now, if you're a collector and an enthusiast, you see beyond the Royal Oak with AP, for sure. But to the layman, it's just the Royal Oak.
Yeah.
To the layman, it's just the Nautilus. And his fear is that he doesn't want the brand to just be perceived as one watch.
Yeah.
So when he makes this statement, I think he's saying, listen, if the Nautilus is all that you wanted, then I don't give a crap.
Yeah.
I don't give a crap about you because you're not our buyer anyways. So what the hell does it matter? That's what he's really saying, I think. Did he say it in the best way? Probably not.
No, his press release team was probably freaking out when they heard this. They're like, dude, you can't say that. We're going to have to get everything riled up and ready to go, re-release a statement.
He's coming out hot, for sure.
He is, yeah. It's definitely a hot take on, just his end in perspective. I don't agree with the sentiments, but I do agree with the value of where his message is. And I think you're hitting on the nail. He just didn't say it as elegantly as he probably should have with this level of status.
I want to touch on two things about this release. And if you look at the Aquanaut release, I was not into watches or collecting watches, or certainly wasn't even looking at Patek when the Aquanaut was released. But it is a known fact that it was poorly received.
Yeah.
People hated it because it looked kind of similar to the Nautilus. And it took many, many years before that watch became loved and adored by collectors. Now it's one of the hottest Patek watches that they have.
Yeah.
I believe that something very similar is going to happen with the Cubitus.
Yeah.
Yes, it leans heavily on the Nautilus, but there are collectors out there that are going to fall in love with this watch, especially as more people are exposed to it and we start to see what it looks like on people's wrist. The Code 1159 with AP, people hated that release when it first came out. Now it is one of their strongest lines.
Yeah.
Is it as strong as the Royal Oak? No, but it is now being very well received, and they're doing a lot of interesting and fun things with that line.
Yeah.
Within a few years, it's going to be something that collectors are going to want to buy.
Right, right. And I bet you if they discontinue this as soon as they released it, that thing's going to go heavy in the market and people are actually going to keep buying it.
Yeah, you're touching on something that I think is interesting, and that is that everybody out there, journalists, YouTubers, everybody, collectors, is saying this watch is gross. I can't believe that anybody would want this watch. Yet, these same people are saying, "Oh, but it's going to sell out.
Yeah.
Oh, there's going to be a waiting list for it." Well, those two things don't align.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean that it's gross and nobody should like it, or nobody does like it? I mean, I have talked to 0 people that have said they love the watch, but at the same time, I do believe that there's going to be a wait list for this watch. I do believe it will sell above retail on the secondary, and that falls in line with all of the collectors that I know that have said they don't like it, but do think that there'll be a wait list for it, means that there's going to be a portion of collectors that have not stepped into Patek that are going to want this watch, which is what Patek probably wants. They want to bring attention to their brand. They want collectors that have not looked at the brand before to now start exploring the brand. Mm-hmm. And I think that that is this high level of chess that we talked about in the beginning that Patek is playing here. And this was very intentional. They weren't trying to, of course, they want some people that are already in the brand to want this watch, but what they really want are people that have not explored this brand to put fresh eyes on it.
Yeah. And part of that too, I don't know if it's speculation, but it is information that's out there. They're spreading the production of the Cubitus with the Nautilus and the Aquanaut, right? They're spreading it pretty evenly.
Yeah, so what I've read is whatever production number they have set right now for the Aquanaut and the Nautilus, they're going to keep that same production number and spread it over these 3 watches now. Mm-hmm. So they're not increasing production to add a line.
Yeah.
They are just going to spread the current production over now 3 watches instead of 2.
Right.
Which brings up a very interesting point. Why would they spread it over the current production and not increase production so that they can sell more of these watches? I think for a couple of reasons. And this is getting convoluted a little bit. I think that he is trying to maybe kill this line a little bit. You know, the problem is that people don't come in wanting to buy Calatravas. Mm-hmm. They don't come in wanting to buy a lot of their other watches that they're, high complications that they're known for. They come in wanting these sports pieces. And so I believe that this is a way to add a line, gain attention on the brand, maybe capture some new customers, but capture new customers in they want this piece, but now they're looking at Patek, they're on the list for it, and maybe now these new customers are willing to buy an entry-level Calatrava so that they can start moving those other pieces. For sure. And I think that is exactly why they have released this watch. And I believe that's why they have spread it over the 3 lines now instead of the 2.
Yeah, I think you're right. They're definitely trying to bring the spotlight away from all their sports watches, right? With the Aquanaut, with the Nautilus, and now the Cubitus. And this is kind of a slap in the face for some people, but it's a good move for probably the direction that they're trying to go to. Their higher complication watches, their dress pieces, the ornate look and feel of Patek watches. Overall, for them to do something like this, it's just a big political move on Patek's side. So
it's a game of chess.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, if you had the opportunity to buy it and you're saying you don't like it, I still think a large majority of people would buy this watch.
Oh, man, that watch is so freaking ugly. How much is it? And just slide the debit card over. I'll take 2.
I know. You go in with like a hoodie on so nobody sees you. Yeah. And you're like, it's like a alley drug deal or something.
Yeah. Like I would never do that. I would never get that. Oh, what time is it releasing? Yeah. Oh, that's nasty. I'll see you later. Do you feel like they're going to release something shortly after this, maybe like a new line of their watches? You don't think so? Because it's kind of a smart move if they did, right? They're getting all this attention. It's not the greatest attention, but they're getting a lot of attention from this, maybe from people who don't even like Patek in general, and people are like, oh, look what they released, look at this, and then like, okay, well, wait, here's another watch for you next year. I'm not saying it's gonna happen, but it would make sense if they did something like that.
No, I mean, mission accomplished with them.
Yeah.
All of this attention. This is I really think intentionally this is what they wanted. Look at the it was released I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago now. Look at the weekly calendar, the Calatrava weekly calendar in steel, stainless steel. They were really hoping that thing was going to catch fire and it was going to take some relief off of the Nautilus. That was the reason that they released that piece. And it is a nice, I like the watch. I'm on the list for that watch actually. But they really wanted to try to get some relief by releasing that watch, and it did not do as well as I think that they wanted to.
Yeah.
This, on the other hand, there's a lot of hype around it. It's bringing a lot of attention to the brand. It's bringing a lot of new eyes on the brand.
Yeah.
And mission accomplished with this versus what they released in that weekly calendar of 5 or so years ago.
Sure. So, final thoughts on this watch is basically, and a little bit of a recap, is the watch isn't really as ugly as people are making it out to be.
It's not.
It's kind of a power play and a big brain move from Patek in general. And the balls on Mr. President of Patek are very, very heavy.
Bro's got some
like
big old knockers.
He is
dude.
not afraid at
He's
all.
got big nuts, man.
I mean, guy walks in through 3 doors to get into his office because, my goodness. You gonna get your name on that list right after this episode's over?
No, I won't be putting my name on the list right away at all. But there's so many other watches that I think I would want before this piece, and I already have the Nautilus, which brings up a really good point. If you got the Cubitus, would you still want the Nautilus?
The Nautilus, yeah. Does it scratch it for you?
Right?
Yeah, that is a good point. I feel like I don't know. I would say that it would, but I feel like once you have it, you're like, oh, this is not it. This is not the Nautilus at all.
I don't think it's going to scratch the itch.
Yeah.
I do think at the end of the day that's a lot of what people want.
Yeah.
I've had the Aquanaut. I sold my Aquanaut so that I could get a Nautilus. And the Aquanaut I love. It's an amazing piece. But I had the opportunity to get a Nautilus, and so I sold that Aquanaut.
Yeah, just a good move.
That just goes to show you how powerful that watch is in the collector world.
Yeah.
And I think the same will be said for the Cubitus. The Cubitus is going to be, a holding piece until you can get the Nautilus.
Yeah.
But I mean, we don't know. The Nautilus may go away completely, or may be such low production that it's just nearly impossible to get.
Yeah, and then here's the Cubitus instead to gratify.
We want to know what you think. I specifically want to know what your thoughts are on the CEO's comments.
Yeah, that's bold.
I want to know, do you think what he said was appropriate? What he said was out of line? What he said was true? Please comment down below, because I really want to get, people talking and figuring out, what different views are and what their thoughts are on this.
Yeah, and for all you secret haters out there that are also secretly lovers, you guys are having a love affair.
Undercover lovers.
Yeah, go ahead and release yourself down there. Tell everyone how you actually feel. It's a safe space. Your boyfriend's not gonna find out that you wrote a little comment like, okay, it's not that bad of a watch.
Yeah.
Someone's gonna get mad at me for that, but it's fine. Well, thank you guys for watching today's episode on the Cubicle, the Oracle, all of it. The Cubitus, not that bad of a watch, and
it really isn't
a move from Patek.
Until next time, we'll see you in the next video.
Bye, guys.